Wait, what time? Devon, oh my goodness. What is it? Oh my goodness. Okay. I'm gonna be late. The show for the grand. Okay, where is this guy? I'm real confused.
He's not coming.
Does he know who I am?
He's not coming.
He is coming. He better come. You know how much money we pay for this interview? Of course. $3.99, but still. I'm real confused. Does he know who I am? Oh, he knows who you are. Does he know who I am?
I don't think it matters.
We all know who you are. Don't listen to me. But does he know who I am?
It does not.
I'm Sydney K, not Sydney Parlay or Sydney Belay. I'm real confused.
I mean, if that mattered, he would be here right now. But obviously he's not, so...
This to bring up your brand show, not to bring up your scam show, okay?
So you should let him know that.
Right. I will call him right now.
Call him right now. Press him.
Don't. Girl, where you at? Why are you not listening to me? Hello?
Mm-hmm.
Why is someone in the shower? Move on! Special guest, drink up celebrity with your girl, Sydney K. Hey, it's Sydney K, and this is another episode of Big Up Your Brand Show. I'm here with special guest, Drink Cup, a Queens native, and we're just gonna let him introduce yourself. So say hello.
Hey, what's going on, y'all? It's Drink Up Celebrity, as you said. You know, my name is Devon.
Devon, nice to have you here today.
Nice to be here.
Nice. So you are Queens native. Just give people a real quick rundown of your background. So we know you own a couple businesses, but tell people more about them, and we'll have to talk more.
Okay, well, you know, like I said, my name is Devon. I'm from South Jamaica, Queens, Big Up Queens. You know, we out here. You know, I started like any other people in the hood. You know, transferable skills, hustling, and everything. And you know, I started a company called Drink Up Celebrity, where we do drinks, we do treats, desserts. And you know, now I'm currently working on a non-profit organization. I done had Arizona routes, car washes. I just love the entrepreneurship. I just love that life.
Okay, so you're what we like to call a serial entrepreneur. You just have businesses on businesses.
Yes.
So, and that's super important, particularly as a man, and particularly as a man of color, right? So how does like your identity and how you identify as a black man, you know, influence your decisions when it comes to building your brand and building your business?
Well, I mean, I think it's very important, you know, like when I started my Arizona route, actually, when I had my Arizona route and I started Drink Up, I had to make a decision on to deal with Drink Up that I own 100% or continue to work with Arizona, which I was only leasing. And I never forget the owner of Arizona told me that I'm passing up a lifetime opportunity working with him.
When you decided to branch off for your own?
When I decided to branch off for my own. And that right there, that statement that he made gave me the motivation to say, I create my own opportunities. And I left Arizona, and I did take a pay cut. Don't get it twisted. I took a big pay cut.
Yeah.
A lot of people didn't understand. He was hooked on the title of owning your own Arizona route, owning a truck. It sounded good, you know. But when I tell you right now, 5 years later, there's no more pay cut.
No regrets.
No regrets.
I love to hear that because so many of us people of color and aspiring entrepreneurs, we feel a little hesitant when it comes to aspiring towards our dreams because, you know, it's easier to work for someone else. But when it comes to ownership, sometimes we're not willing to necessarily take that pay cut or take that risk. So honestly, what inspired you to like take that risk and jump into entrepreneurship full time?
Well, you know, like I said in the beginning, you know, I do come from South Jamaica, Queens, and being a young black man, you know, I definitely got caught up in the streets at a young age. So, bottom line is I'm a hustler. I used to think I loved selling drugs. That's what I thought was under being a hustler. But what I realized is that's not what being a hustler is about. Being a hustler is just willing to wake up every day, go out there, consistency, and go get it. So I just had to, like I said, transferable skills. I had to just change my product and keep my same grind. And I realized that was my passion, and that's what I went for.
I love that, and I love like a little key term, if you will, you're saying is transferable skills, right? You coming from the streets, if you will, said you thought you had to hustle and sell drugs, but like you said, those transferable skills is what allowed you to, you know, leave one environment and be successful in another environment.
Yes,
from the streets to a business man.
Yes.
So That being said, you have multiple businesses. You have your Drink Cup, of course, which is more entertainment field. You've serviced so many celebrities.
Yes.
You've had tremendous impact in your community. You also have a nonprofit.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's something new that I just started coming into 2021.
Perfect timing, right?
It was perfect.
We need
timing.
it.
We definitely need it. It's called We Got Action Inc. And it's geared towards bringing down violence in our community and teaching our kids financial literacy.
Okay, so how do you go from entrepreneur to community leader, or how do you go transition from a businessman to someone who's actually giving back?
You know what I'm gonna say? I'm gonna say that I'm God-driven. I'm gonna say I'm God-driven because I didn't see this. I still don't see it. You know, this is something that I let the grind. I just grind. I just was out there working and grinding with Drink Up, and it just opened up so many doors. I love giving back to my community because I took so much away from my community. So giving back was a second nature to me, and doors just started opening.
How important, for entrepreneurs listening, how important is giving back to your community? If you want to be successful, how important is giving back to your community?
Well, you know, you can't keep your hands like this. Nothing comes in, nothing goes out, you know. And then if you're just receiving and you're not giving back and you're not blessing, where's the real joy in that? It's not, you know.
I love that. So you find joy in giving back to your community.
Yeah, I love giving back to my community. Like I said, I done destroyed it so bad, you know, and for so many years. So if God bless me, I like to bless others.
And I love to hear the levels of like self-awareness when you speak, right? It's like I was here, but I brought myself here, right? So I think that's super important for our listeners and audiences watching to remember that no matter where you are, you choose where you want to end up. You can use that power of choice.
Yes.
Now, I know as far as your history goes, you've been through a lot in life.
Yes.
As we all have, but you have been through some things particularly more traumatic than others. It's to my understanding that you were a victim actually of the Queens Massacre. Now, for those who don't know what that is, if you feel comfortable talking about it, I'd love to hear your perspective on it, explain what it is and how it affected you in your journey.
Well, the Queens Massacre was in 1996. A guy that actually lived across the street from me that I dealt business with, he waited till I got locked up, and a month later he ran into my house and he murdered my sister, my brother's wife, an ex-girlfriend of mine, put her twin sister in a coma, and another young lady jumped out the window and she got away. So it was 5 women in the house. Yeah.
I'm so sorry that happened to you. Now, you said that was like a retaliation. That was in retaliation due to the life you were living at the time?
It wasn't a retaliation. What it was is, it was the game. It was the way that we was living. It was we so caught up in the illusion of the street and we only see one side. And everybody think that it can't happen to me until it's too late. Either there's a murder, the feds knocking on your door, jail time.
So you were on the inside when that happened?
Yeah, I was on the inside. You know, I thought that my life was gonna be the same when I come back home. Let me go, you know, do this time and come home, and you know my family is in power, that things will go right back to it the way it was. So one day I was just sitting in the day room watching the news, and you know I just saw my whole family just pop up on the TV screen in the day room. First my sister.
You're kidding me. You didn't get a call? You had to find out from the news?
I didn't get a call, nothing. I sat there and I'm just watching it. Everybody in the day room, attention was on it, and I was just frozen. And within seconds, the whole day room knew it was my family, because I was just so stuck in the trance with tears just coming down my eyes. I couldn't even move.
You have my deepest condolences, first of all. I can even imagine your reaction at that time and moment, but if you can like walk us through that, like what was your immediate reaction to seeing what you saw?
Well, my immediate reaction was, it's like having an out-of-body experience. It was definitely an out-of-body experience. If I could take myself out of my body, I would see a statue sitting there with just tears coming through his eyes, with just that, no other emotion, just a stuck face with just pain.
So how did that experience like transition you into you? Because you're so bubbly, you're energetic, you're happy. Speaking to you, you can never tell you've been through what you went through, right? So how did that experience like allow you to transition and become who you are today? Because today,
well, you know, it was definitely a process. When I came home after that happened, I wasn't. I felt like the streets owed me. You know, I felt like the streets owed me. I wasn't afraid of death no more. I felt that.
so you were out for vengeance.
I was out for vengeance. I felt that if women could experience death like that, then I was ready for death head on. So for 10 years.
That's a scary place to be.
It's a very scary place to be, and that's why I can relate to so many young brothers that's running around here wilding, because that was me. You know, what they would call a shooter, that was me. I was a shooter. And that brought me to a place of not caring. And I had a 10-year, I ran the streets for 10 years after that. But within those 10 years, I had a son. I was doing family stuff. I was able to live off of my reputation for a while. So I didn't realize I changed within them 10 years until I actually got caught up on a humble, and I had to go back to prison for a year. And that's when I realized that I don't want to live like this no more.
So going back to prison for the second time was what allowed you to really like revamp and take a new look at your life?
Yeah, definitely had me take a look at my life and made me realize, like, man, I have a son now. I had to do the old hood stuff. Tell my son I'm in school.
Yeah.
You're a real dad.
Daddy's in college.
Yeah. You're a real dad. You know, I'm involved in my son's life and I'm just gone.
Trying to protect them from that reality.
Yeah, the innocence of him.
But at a certain point, you're like, all right,
yeah,
I'm tired of having two different realities.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had to make a change. And, you know, right then and there, you know, I promised God that if he made a way for me to make money when I came home, no matter what I did or how hard times got, I would never go back to the streets, and I've kept that vow.
So when you got out, or when you decided to change your life anyway, how did you make money? I know you said you started with Drink Up.
Well, before Drink Up, you know, like I said, I had a 10-year run. You know, I already was getting money before the 10 years, so I already was used to money. So I was a smart hustler. I didn't go to jail and come home broke. So I came home to money. And the first thing I did was go get my CDL license.
Okay.
You know, I bought a truck. And then I happened to bump into the Arizona route, the guys who own Arizona, and I bought an Arizona route. And
I love that. And now can we just stop one quickly? Like you said, when you first got out of jail, you didn't even go directly into entrepreneurism, right? What did you do? You got your CDL license, you got a trade.
Yeah.
And I think that's super important for our audiences listening and people who look like you, our young black men, our young people of color, because so many times we are sold a narrative of you have to go to college, you have to live this certain life to live a positive and happy and successful life, when in reality it's not the case. You know, you've been through so much and you came back and you got a trade, and just like that you're able to use the life that you developed from your income to go on to your own entrepreneur endeavors, which is so important, right? So trades are important. Trades are super important. So don't follow the hype. Don't believe the hype, if you will, right? It's so important to just not be afraid to just handle your business, right? Because I feel like that's the most motivating thing, is like being able to support yourself and have that financial independence that you're looking for. So when it comes to your entrepreneurism, like, were you a little bit nervous? Because I know you said a pay cut, right? Because I feel like a lot of us entrepreneurs are super nervous about diving into it full time because we're afraid of losing money. So what would you tell the aspiring entrepreneur who's afraid to take that risk and invest in themselves?
I would say don't be afraid of what you could do.
Don't be afraid of you.
Don't be afraid of you, because only you could hold you back. You know, Arizona was a great opportunity. I had my own truck. I had a staff of about 3 people. I was making great money. Every day I brought home money. It was like I was still in the streets. I was just busting my behind for it. But I did not own Arizona. So when it was time to take a pay cut, I knew I was taking a pay cut, but I knew I would be able to give more time to my own self, my own business, other opportunities that could arise. And I knew if I would stay on my grind, if I stay consistent, if I stay dedicated and focused, I knew I would catch up to where my cut was.
We're going to take a quick break. When we get back, we're still continuing our conversation with Drink Up here. We'll be talking about entrepreneurism and how the fear of failure did not stop him from becoming a successful entrepreneur and community leader.
How do you manage fear and failure? Everybody has something that we fear of failing. What would be yours?
I just don't have no fear. I just wipe it out. Because growing up, my father he came from a hard life, so he used to raise me with fear and fearing everything, fearing failure. So he always tried to make me live carefully, but I don't believe in fear. I just believe in sacrifice.
How do you manage fear of failure? And I know it's certain things that we fear failing as individuals, and I would like to know what is yours.
I don't fear failure. If I fail, I fail. I just learn from it, pick up and go.
How do you manage fear of failure?
Okay, so as to what I answered before is like, I honestly don't know how to manage fear of failure. I just kind of push through, because every day I manage to deal with fear of like accomplishments, even only accomplishments, as well as fear of failure. See, like I'm an EMS, so even till this day, as being a 26-year-old, I struggle every day with anxiety, depression, and stuff like that. So it's hard, but I try to push forward and think about like my mom and my brother to keep going. But beyond that, I still don't know how as a 26-year-old, you know? So that's pretty much it.
How do you manage fear of failure? I mean, tell me.
To be honest, I'm not big on thinking of myself as a failure, so I try to keep positive vibes at all times and just always push myself that like no matter what situation you're in, like there's always a way out of it. So that's kind of how I take it upon, like just thinking positive and just staying strong-minded.
How do you manage fear of failure?
Fear of failure? I don't really think about failing. Like I always think about like achieving what I'm planning to do. That's my achieve. Like I think about achieving what I'm planning to do.
Okay, so if you, even though I know you think about achieving what you plan to do, but say you was doing something and you failed it, how would you take that failure? How would you take it?
As a lesson, and I learn from it and grow, period.
Honestly, in life, failure, you know, that always comes, so you got to prepare yourself to deal with it. You feel me? No, you can't.
A broad question.
You can't fear failing because it's natural, you know? It has to happen. So you got to just prepare yourself to deal with it. That's it. So I don't fear failure. It's going to happen because you're trying stuff in life. You feel me? So it might work or it might not. So you got to prepare yourself if it don't work. That's it. That's just it.
Hey, it's Sydney K, and we're back here with special guest Drink Up. Now, since this is the Big Up Your Brand show, let's talk business.
Let's talk.
So, you actually go by your business name, Drink Up, ironically.
Yes.
Nice. So, where did Drink Up come from? And what was the inspiration to starting it?
I mean, you know, I was just sitting there thinking about selling drinks. So it just came natural. I think anything that just come natural and just flows is it. So I was like, you know, I'm gonna start selling these drinks, I was like, you know, I'm gonna just call it Drink Up. It was actually Drink Up, NYC. But once I started and then I started baking, I changed it to Drink Cup, celebrity.
Yeah, so it's not just about drinks, right? You do
Yes.
pastry catering
Yes.
and large event catering as well.
Yes.
And I know you've worked with some of the greatest, from Yandy to Mona Scott,
Yes.
to Cardi B, you name it. You've really been able to build a name for yourself.
Yes.
But before all that, right, before you can get to the big name celebrity clientele or the big bucks or the real big revenue, you know, it's a process, right?
It's definitely a process.
And it can be a very scary process for some.
Yes.
Especially as an entrepreneur, a lot of us have the fear of the unknown. And in light of today's episode topic, how do you handle that fear of the unknown when it comes to entrepreneurism?
Well, you know, I feel that failure is the key to success. you gotta fail before you succeed in anything in life. So nothing is ever gonna just come to you right away, because if it just come to you and you don't put no work in, what is the real joy in that? Or somebody could come and give me $1,000, but if I work for $1,000, that $1,000 I work for is gonna have more meaning.
Like give a man a fish, teach a man to ship.
Exactly. You know, like when I first started selling drinks, it was a lot of competition out there. Everybody was doing it. I felt like I was a late bloomer. Like, you know, I from hustling to doing my Arizona route, all I knew was people in the streets, you know, and was working. So I didn't really know the general population. So I'm like, nobody don't know me. Who's gonna buy my drinks? But that didn't stop me, because I'm a firm believer in consistency.
So why drink? Out of all the things you could sell, why drink?
Well, I never made a drink. I wasn't a bartender. All I know is that I needed to sell something, and I couldn't sell drugs. That's all I need. I said I'm a hustler, and I have to sell something. And at that time, everybody was selling this drink called a nutcracker, but they was using bottom shelf liquor. You know, it was giving people headaches and stuff like that. So I said, how could I turn this around? I said, so I'm going to use top shelf liquor, and I'm going to give the people something that they need, a great taste.
Okay, so this is actually a little bit of a personal question in college of drinks. We had one of our audiences actually send us some questions, and they asked about your drinks. They said, how do we know this isn't just like one of the regular watered down competitions? Like, what sets drink products apart from the competition?
Well, I have happy juice.
Happy juice?
Happy juice. So what Drink Up is I'm consistently known to have the best drinks in Queens. And you don't get hangovers, first of all. Whenever you drink my drinks, you're going to feel good. Nobody's getting all top shelf. So nobody ever gets a hangover. I've been doing this for going on 7 years now. So the consistency of the rapport of my drinks speaks for itself.
Now, just asking for me, what's your top seller?
I can see, you know, when you ask somebody, oh, what do you like? Oh, this is your business. You're going to say everything is good. I'm here to tell you everything is good, sister. And I don't just say that. It depends. You know, when people come to my table, and they say, well, what do you have? I have to ask them, what do you like?
Yeah.
So when you tell me what type of drink you like, I tell you exactly what to suit your needs.
So I'm a tequila girl.
I would say my new Casamigo passion fruit.
Ooh, Casamigo passion fruit.
Exactly.
Okay.
And before then, I have a strawberry mango Patron. That is a hot seller. If you don't like mango, I have a strawberry peach Patron.
I really love, when it comes to catering, how you decided to go forth on both sides of the market, right? You have your drinks up for the people who love $10 in the alcohol, but then you also have pastries, catering service. So tell me more about that.
Well, I do cupcakes, I do cheesecakes, and I do chocolate covered strawberries. And what it was is, everybody was, like I said, everybody was selling drinks. And the people who knew about my drinks was buying it, but it wasn't enough. So it was like, how can I grasp an audience that's just seeing my drinks and scrolling past my page? Like, oh, just another guy selling drinks, and just scroll by. I needed something different. So back then, nobody was really doing chocolate covered strawberries. So I said, let me learn how to make these chocolate covered strawberries and sell it as a package. Strawberries and drink package. And it came across on Mother's Day, and I was
perfect timing.
Yes, it was perfect timing. And I sold a package, 2 drinks and 6 chocolate covered strawberries for $50, and everybody was buying. So now the people who was just scrolling past the drinks, now they were stopping because they saw the strawberries. And I just started perfecting my craft, and it just went from the chocolate covered strawberries to I started baking cupcakes to cheesecakes. I started experimenting with different things, and then there you go.
Okay. Now that's really great. You went in really full force.
Yeah.
You weren't afraid to dabble different things.
No.
You weren't afraid to fail, right?
No.
So I think the recurring theme is like, don't be afraid to fail. But let's cut all the hoopla, all the semantics, all the razzle dazzle, and let's just be real. I scroll on Instagram, I see a million people catering. I see a million people trying to sell food. I see a million people trying to sell drinks. What advice could you give me as an entrepreneur to not allow that to deflect me from my dreams or to not allow it to discourage me?
I would say, don't be afraid to step outside the box. Don't be afraid to be different. And don't be afraid to get into the race. Because it could be a million people selling stuff, but there's only one you. You can't worry about what everybody else is doing. You have to stick to what you know and your vision. And you have to be consistent in that. And consistency wins the game. So it doesn't matter if a million people are selling drinks. This is what I'm doing.
I love that. I love that. Now, of course, you come today speaking so confidently about your business because you lived that success. But there were moments, I'm sure, during your journey, during your lifestyle as entrepreneur, where you didn't think you could move forward. So what gave you that motivation to move forward? Like during those low moments when you thought maybe, you know what, it's not for me. What was your motivating source to be successful?
I didn't want to live the way I used to live. And I didn't want to work for nobody. So I realized when I first started selling drinks, I realized that sometimes you got to make things look bigger than they are until they actually get there. So my first year of selling drinks, I had 3 customers. But I stacked up freezers.
I love that. Now we're being real. Now we're breaking down to the numbers.
Yeah, let's get to the numbers.
How did you survive? You started your first year with 3 customers.
3 customers.
If I heard that, I'm quitting. I'm out. I'm done. Why did you keep going, and what allowed you to keep going?
I had 3 customers, and I had about close to 700 drinks. And like 3 freezers.
So you're sitting on your product.
I'm sitting on 700 drinks,
not moving.
3 customers, no moving. And what I did was I just went out there. I put myself out there. Every time, I don't care if they wanted 1 drink, and it was at 2 in the morning. I was getting up and I was taking them that 1 drink. I don't care if they wanted, and if I wasn't available, I would tell them, "Oh, I'm sold out," to make myself look unavailable. So what I did was, and anytime I got a chance to be somewhere, a barbecue or something, I would tell my homegirls, invite me to a barbecue. Let me know. And I would feed off of them. I would go everywhere with my cooler. I would go nowhere without my cooler. If I filled my cooler up, and I could fill my cooler up with 30, 40 drinks and not sell 1 drink, that will not discourage me from taking my cooler out the very next day. And I stayed consistent with that. And then eventually, it caught up.
I love that. I love that. So consistent, resiliency.
Yes.
You were that guy with the cooler, like, who want a drink? Who want a drink? And
I could count on him. I don't care if it's 3 in the morning and if it's for 1 drink. You know, because some people like, I'm not getting up for only $10. I'm not going.
some people are too good to be successful.
No.
And you can't be successful if you're too good to really
If you're too good to really hustle. Yes.
Yeah.
To this day, you know, only because I'm so busy, I may not go out for 1 drink.
Yeah.
But
you
if somebody,
up so much,
but sometimes it's hard for me to do deliveries. But when I do say I'm doing deliveries, you know, which I still do sometimes, I will go out for 2 drinks. I got $20. I will go out and get that because you know what? It'll be 20 here, it'll be 10 here, 20 here, 50 here.
And it adds up. And
It all add up.
Word of mouth is
Word of mouth.
that business starts to.
I have a saying that I always go by, and it's say money is not always in cash. I'm a firm believer, and money is not always in cash. Money is an opportunity. Money is in being available, being at the right place at the right time for somebody to open up other doors that can actually make you the physical cash. So I don't always just move when it comes to the paper cash.
And I love that you say that. I think that's a super important point to point out, especially for our audiences and listeners, for any entrepreneurs out there or aspiring entrepreneurs. Sometimes it's not all about the money, right? You have to have something bigger, a higher motivating force, right? And be willing to put yourself out there. You were walking around with your suitcase of drinks, right? Sometimes it doesn't have to be to that extreme. Just putting yourself out there, right? Showing up to the events. You don't necessarily have to, be a part of it, but just showing up, right?
Mm-hmm.
Networking. The importance of putting yourself out there.
Putting yourself out there.
That's what got you to where you are today, and able to expand and use the success from one business to dive on into another. Right?
Yes.
So I really love that. I love to hear those success stories because it is super motivating. And especially being a person of color, especially being a black person, to see, people that look like us and speak like us and come from the same places we come from.
Yes.
Be successful. Because if you can do it, that means everyone watching this broadcast can do it. That means I can do it. That means our children can do it. Right? So when it came to you, as you said, I remember you saying that you started a family and that really was your motivating source for being successful. What would you tell the young black fathers or the young black men looking to start a family or looking to start a business that will really get them that extra motivation that will get them through the moments of doubt?
I would say to a lot of our black men that it's about building a legacy. It's about starting a legacy that only you could do, only you could leave. And we have to stop failing our kids and start preparing them for what's real in life, because we are the first examples they look to. And I have been through so much, even with my son, My son is 20 years old, and I tried to keep so much from him, but because of the streets, he hears stuff, he hears stories, and that's what he grabs to.
What's going on, guys? This is DG's at DG's Vegan 360. We are now rocking with Big Up Your Brand, and we are here. You always get posed the question why we open in the hood, why won't we go to, a more prestigious area, but here at Vegan 360 NYC, we look at this area as prestigious because this is our neighborhood. We want to keep our own neighborhood flourishing, and why not bring the health into our own people, let our own people see what's good out there for us, offer CMOS for the community and things like that. A lot of the problems you're going to face as a small black business owner, you're going to go through a lot of lack of support from your own government and from your own community, whereas you have to turn that around and do a lot of education pieces, show people why they need the support, the importance of it, and what's going to keep you going. That way everyone feels involved. I mean, the best tips you could tell anybody up and coming is just don't give up and make sure you're doing what's in your heart. That way it doesn't, just stay a job, it becomes more fun work. And just be honest with yourself and with your customers. I mean, with so many other people out here trying to get to come up, what I use to motivate myself is I keep my goals as a reality. So if there's something that I want, and what I want is I want to be on top. So every day I wake up to do that. I don't wake up to play around. If you want to get into the business world, it's not to play. So if you come into this field right here, especially in New York City, it's not an environment where you're going to be able to sit around. The early bird is the only one that gets to work. The best way you want to help everyone in your community who's trying to help, or quote unquote looking for a lookout or a handout, as we might say, give them their opportunity. Give them a bunch of flyers. Give them anything, and put them to the task. Let them see if they can get the job done, and then allow them to pass or fail themselves.
I'm super excited we were able to speak so candidly about how you overcame your adversity in order to become the person you are today, a successful community leader and entrepreneur. Now, I think it's super important that we take a step back to, remind our audiences and our listeners just more about your story and offer you an opportunity for you to give them an essential piece of advice for the people who can identify with your story and your struggle. So for the young black men listening, for the young person growing up in the streets, for the aspiring entrepreneur, how would you be able to share your story and impact them?
Well, you know what I would have to, what I would say to them is, you know, leaving a legacy. Leaving a legacy behind is so important because, you know, kids is looking up to us. And our children are watching us, especially as a young black man. The world is watching us. So we have to change the dynamics of things right now, how we being viewed. And don't get caught up in the illusion. That's a big part, the illusion.
The illusion. Speak more on that.
The illusion is real. The illusion is what you see on Instagram. You know, the illusion is standing on couches, popping 1 million bottles of champagne, the diamonds, the jewelry, the cars, even the women. It's an illusion because none of that is real. Because at the end of the day, all you really have is you, yourself, and your family when it comes down to it. So if we have to learn the difference between the illusion and what's real, and learning not to get caught up in the illusion, create a legacy, and do what you have to do as a black man.
I love that. I love how you are just like ripping out the facade of the common narrative that we see in society, right? Of just mindlessness, like you said, the partying, the drinking, and the girls, but all that is what you see, you know? So many times we don't see the hard work that goes behind that, or not, they're not of, right?
Yeah.
A lot of the bottles and things are sponsored, right? So you think people are paying for these things and spending their energy on these things, but in reality it's all a production. It's all a facade. So, and I really love to speak to that other point of legacy, because particularly, you know, within the black community, people of color, I think we are now experiencing a cultural shift, if you will, where before we were living for the moment, now we're back to thinking about, you know, generational wealth, right? And, you know, eradicating generational curses, getting rid of generational policy. So tell me how that plays a part in your motivation as an entrepreneur and as a black man.
Well, you know, myself is, see me, I got a late start. And when I say a late start, I was caught up in that illusion that I speak of for so many years.
So, question, when you say late start, how old were you when you decided to like finally get your life together?
33.
Okay. And that's so important. I'm so happy you shared that with us, because so many times, particularly for the younger entrepreneurs, they think, oh, I'm supposed to have my life made and already set by 21. And then when you actually go through things, you realize that life has a different path. So I'd love to hear more about your path.
You know, when you're young, see, I started early, and I would like to say, see, when you're young, we think because we got money, we've been through it all. We think we know it all. But your brain don't fully develop till you're about 25 anyway.
That frontal lobe, my mama told me that.
so when you 21 years old, you may could be 21 years old touching $70,000. And you may think you done been there, done that. Yeah, you think you've been there, done that, you know all the answers. You actually think that you're smarter than the next person because you may have more financial wealth than him or whatever. But how did you get that wealth? What was you willing to sacrifice to get it? You don't know it all, because you could be rich at 21 and broke at 35 with nothing. True. So we have to teach our men and our young men to stop getting caught up in the illusion. It's nothing. The hustle is not about drugs. Right now, it ain't drugs. It's what is it? Swiping.
Scamming,
Scamming.
Super popular.
Scamming. So, you know, when I was young, I used to wonder, man, the police just pulled us over there harassing me. But you know what? I realized I was looking like a drug dealer. I was a drug dealer. I fit the criteria. When I look at a scammer, they fit the criteria. BMW, slippers in the summertime in the park. You know, they think that it can't happen.
So I would interpret that as, you know, we have enough issues, particularly as a black person, right?
Yes.
In this world to deal with. It's like, why make our lives harder? Like, the system is designed to, keep us down, and we see so many of us perpetually falling into that trap. So it takes a strong mind, right, to really get yourself out of that trap. So what did you do to really strengthen your mind to really elevate your life? God,
well, like I said,
meditate, did you pray?
No, it definitely was God. Like I said, after my 10-year run, I made a promise to God that, you know, if he could find a way for me to make money, I would never go back to the streets. I came home, I got my CDL, I got an Arizona route. He did his part. Did hard times fall upon me again? Of course it did, because God was testing me. He was seeing if I was going to hold true to my word if things got rough again, which it did. And I stood fast. See, it was nothing but God. I mean, you know, doing this interview, you may hear me speak of God a lot, because one thing about me, I love some God.
Amen.
You know, whether it's your God, Allah, whatever your higher beam is, that's what it is for me. But I know it was His grace. And when you have a talent as an entrepreneur, it's something that's done easy, effortlessly. You know, and we need to learn to capitalize.
I love that, because the talent may be easy, but success isn't easy. So it's about using your talents and that dedication, right?
And capitalizing on it.
Yeah.
You have to see, capitalizing is the work. That's the hard work. The talent is easy, but there's nothing. You can't have faith without works. So even if you have a God-given gift, that's something that comes easy. If you don't capitalize, if it don't work in, it's not going to work for you. But if you put that work in, you will be successful.
I love to hear it. Now I know you do some motivational speaking, which I can already tell you're motivating me from this conversation alone. Now, when it comes to your motivational speaking, you know, do you take a more personal approach? Who do you speak to? Who are your target audiences?
Well, when I speak to the young people that I'm speaking to, let them know about the illusion that I spoke of. Then I speak to the OGs that's such as myself, to let them know how we let them down.
Yeah.
Because we made them believe the illusion was real.
Yeah.
And then I speak to my young shooters that's coming up. That's shooters.
It is a two-part system, right? It's the youth who's going through it right now, and the older generation who kind of like gave them the crutches to be
that. So you know, as we look at, you know, we celebrate Dr. King's birthday or whatever, and we look at his legacy that he left behind. We look at how selfless he was, that he thought of not just himself or his kids, he thought about us who wasn't even born, so that we could have the opportunity that we have today. We wouldn't be sitting here if he was selfish. So we have a generation that's not born, that's coming after us. We have to be that selfless also. And that's my mission right now, to be selfless.
And I love that. And I think it's safe to assume that that's what motivated you to start your nonprofit, correct?
Correct. That's exactly what started me.
Now talk to us more about that.
Well, the nonprofit is called We Got Action, Inc. And it's basically geared towards bringing down violence in our community and teaching financial literacy to our communities. I didn't just say kids, either it's going to be to kids, but also to adults. Exactly. Because if an adult is not financially secure, how can they raise a child? So we have to bring it back into our communities, period. So that's my mission. You know, it's not political. It's not for political gain. It's something that I feel that I'm doing from my heart. It's with passion. But the only reason I started the nonprofit is because it opened up doors that doing it myself can't open. It's so far I could do it just doing it myself.
I think that's so important. I think that's extremely admirable of you to do that, right? You're actively being the change you want to see in this world. And like you said, it's, you know, financial literacy, it's nonpartisan issue, right? It's not about blue, it's not about red. Honestly, it's not about black or it's about white. It's about educating people with the tools to live that financial freedom and to build that legacy and to build future generational wealth and just generational stability, if you will, right? And yes, as a black man, it's even more important, particularly for the black community, because we have been disproportionately affected with, you know, the lack of education, the lack of resources, and the lack of funding, right? So with your nonprofit, you know, what particularly is the goal to bridge that gap?
Well, to bridge the gap, you know, it's so many different programs that we're going to open, but we are going to start with one program, and that's from ages 13 to 19, bringing about 20 youths together and basically, you know, letting them know that the illusion ain't real, and at the same token, not just talking to them, but giving them something, finding out what their God-given talent is, bringing it out of them. See, the beautiful thing about now is when we was younger, we had to wait till I can't wait till I get old so I can get this. You could be rich at 7 years old if you have a talent. You can get money right now. So we're going to breed entrepreneurs right now. 13, you want to get money? This is what it is. Because let me tell you something. These kids ain't really gangsters. They not really built for it. They just want money.
That is so true. And
statistically speaking, right, a lot of crime is linked to poverty.
To poverty, and they just want money, but they don't. But they only know one way to get it. They only been told from the artists that we support, that we listen to, that I grew up on, that lied to us and told us when they was telling us that hip hop is affecting our community. They told us no, it wasn't, just so they could get rich.
And to be frank, you know, it's not an attack on hip hop.
It is not an attack on hip hop.
Hip hop is what brought us through a lot of the civil rights and a lot of just the, you know, overall societal woes that we have faced as a people.
Yeah.
But I do agree with you to the point where today's modern hip hop, a lot of the music that we do here has been infiltrated, right, by, let's just say, the other, right, by the negative stereotypes they want to perpetuate, by the drug dealing, by, back then, again, they had to sell drugs to survive, versus nowadays they're making it seem look cool, you know?
They're making it seem
And
cool.
if it's not cool, then they want you to be a user, right? So if they don't want to get you selling drugs, they want to get you on the drugs. So it's like, again, a systemic trap that we are falling into as a people, right?
It's a lifestyle. And what I want to teach our kids is what I say about the illusion. Because if you want to be an artist today, right? If you want to be an artist today, first of all, before you begin the game, you're gonna say, I need a chain, I need jewelry, I need the whole money, I need cars. You need the illusion. You ain't got the illusion. You broke. So what do? You go out there and you get with a clique that's a loopy in the neighborhood that has those things to front you like that's your lifestyle. So now you're getting into something that's supposed to change your life, but you're bringing in a whole negative entourage.
When the streets give you something, they want
They
something
want
back.
something back. So now you see so many artists getting caught up in drug trafficking, racketeering, charges. You know why? Because they had no choice. They had to get with a certain clique to portray that image, to get that money, to get that illusion, and make it look good to sell. And then once they got in, you think the streets are going to say, oh, you there now? Here, my job is done? No. The streets say, now it's time to pay back.
And that's where we see so many artists, successful or not, who, yeah, they may have made it to a certain level of fame, but it's short-lived, so young, because the streets come back to reclaim
what they gave
you, which is your life, right?
Which is your life.
They give you your life, they'll take it away.
They take it away, and we look at him like, oh, he's an artist. Why is he doing this? So this is what hip hop has become. This is what was a way out is now not even safe to get in.
I
And
love
we have
how
to
you're speaking on that.
Yeah, and you know and it's nothing against hip hop because I love hip hop. I mean, everybody is on D Nice right now. You know, he got us through quarantine. But let me tell you, I was in 3rd grade listening to D Nice whole mixtape. I mean, his whole album. He had a whole album before all of the quarantine things. So I'm a fan of hip hop. I love hip hop, but I don't love what it's doing to my generation. So anything that is bringing destruction to my generation, I ain't with.
Yeah. And again, hip hop is just one of the mediums that they use to, again, what I like to call mental programming, right?
Yeah.
Program us to live a certain way and act a certain way. But also can be really, you know, alleviating, can help with our stress, because not all artists are like that.
No.
Which is why it's important to support the artists that, you know, support the same mission you're on and not just blindly support. Which I love, you know, everything you represent. You're all about empowering oneself and being the change you want to see, and I'm so happy we got a chance to speak today.
Yes, thank you.
So I am so grateful that we're able to have this conversation today, because I feel like we've hit so many points, right? From coming from nothing to turning yourself into something, to overcoming adversity, to building a legacy for yourself, to mental programming and spiritualism and putting God first. But in order to kind of like wrap up, I'd love for you to kind of like leave our audience with, you know, a final thought, if you will. Like if you had to give your last will and testimony, your last piece of advice, what would it be?
Well, you know, what I would like to say is, if I had to give my last will and testament, I would say keep God first, a higher power. Get a higher power in your life, you know, and surround yourself with people who's great. Surround yourself with people that you aspire to be like. And it's 5 steps of decision making in life. You have 5 steps that I follow. 1 is to see the situation clearly. 2 is know what you want. 3 is evaluate and decide. 4 is expand your possibilities and decide.
I love it. So last was decide, and I think that's super important to end on that note. If you have a goal if you have a vision, you have to decide that you can and you will. And one thing I love to reiterate, we've all heard this, the difference between a dream and a goal is that decision to make it happen. So set a date, trust God, think about your legacy, and there's nothing you can't make happen.
Yes.
Hey, it's Sydney K, and this has been another episode of Big Up Your Brand Show with Drink Up Celebrity. If you want, you can follow me at Sydney K for all things Sydney K. And where can the people find you? Give us your Instagram, your business information, everything.
Yep, well, you can find me at drink_celebrity on Instagram. Also, we got Action Incorporated. We out of South Jamaica, Queens. We run a tiki bar there. We open from April to November every year. Come check us out.
Thanks for coming.
Thanks for having me.
Beautiful guys.
Thank you all for watching today's show. It's Just Live, the producer here on the Big Up Your Brand Show. Today we had Drink Up Celebrity, the true definition of entrepreneurship, making a name for yourself, starting from nowhere and actually building up your brand, multiple brands. So amazing, so motivational, so inspiring. He had a rough start to life, but changed for the better. And it was such an amazing interview. But we also got a chance to get out in the field. Siri did an amazing job of asking the main question: how do you manage fear of failure? We also tapped into Vegan 360 NYC, a local business thriving successfully. He gave us a few gems on how to start a business, how to keep a business, and how to tap into your community. Here on the Big Up Your Brand Show, I'd like to end it on a positive note. Today, my positive note is just keep going, stay motivated, stay positive, keep a positive thought process on everything you do, even if it's not going so well. Just keep pushing forward. Like Drink Up Celebrity said in the beginning, he started and didn't have any customers, but he just kept pushing and pushing and pushing, and you see where he's at today. He's a very successful business owner. So just keep pushing forward. You don't have to be great to start, but you have to start to be great. Have a good one.
I love that. So be proactive, and when life gives you lemons, make lemonade.
Do what you need to. At the time, so I wasn't really into it, but his spark, his spunk and all that made me want to, collab with him.